Part 6 of Ahsoka introduced many Star Wars fans to Grand Admiral Thrawn for the very first time. If you need a quick summary of that character's history, I'll link to a video I've already done, because today I'm skipping over him to talk about a character that's new to all Star Wars fans, Captain Enoch and his gold-faced helmet. What's his deal, and why is he far more important than you might be thinking right now? First, let's talk about his mythological inspirations. This series has been taking names from all kinds of real-world mythologies. Balin and Shin are named for Norse wolves, and the Night Sister Great Mothers are named for the Greek Fates, for example. Enoch is no different, taking his name from the biblical book of Genesis. Enoch is said to have lived a long life of 365 years until he walked with God into heaven, which is often interpreted to mean that he entered heaven without dying first. Enoch is also credited with 3 apocryphal books, meaning they aren't considered to be part of the biblical canon. In Star Wars terms, they would be considered legends, but those stories place Enoch as the guardian of heaven's celestial treasures and chief of the archangels, kind of like the captain of the guard. He was taught all the secrets and mysteries of the world and executed on the commands of God with all of the angels at his back. So Enoch basically became the leader of the angels despite not being an angel himself and never having died. How might that translate to the Enoch of Star Wars? It's already become a popular theory that the stormtroopers under Thrawn's command, who are listed as night troopers in the subtitles, could be dead soldiers reanimated by Night Sister magic. Thrawn makes it clear he has requested their magical aid before, when he requests it, quote, again at the end of the episode. He also notes to Morgan Elsbeth that their numbers have dwindled during exile, and we have the hint of Marok's surprising death where he exploded into greenish smoke or dust. That could have been preparing Star Wars fans for an entire army that will die in a similar manner. Basically, I'm suggesting that the Night Troopers could be the angelic army of God. They're certainly not angels, but a supernatural army of some sort. I can buy that. That would place Thrawn in the role of God, which obviously, again, he is not literally some kind of Force god in Star Wars, but his army is seen and heard chanting his name during his introduction while organ music plays. Part of what sets Thrawn apart within the Galactic Empire is the very fact that he leads through respect rather than fear like the Emperor or Darth Vader. His troops genuinely want to follow and serve him because they know he can lead them to victory. It's possible that in their exile, that respect has grown into full-on fanaticism, elevating Thrawn into some godlike figure in their minds. And Enoch stands at their head, hearing the commands of Thrawn and then acting to carry those commands out. Since his biblical namesake was not an angel and entered heaven without dying, I could see him being set apart from the rest of the army. He might be the final living stormtrooper on that ship, or the fact that the biblical Enoch transcended or defeated death could simply suggest that the Star Wars Enoch beat death through reanimation and Night Sister magic. I could see it having multiple interpretations at this point, or it's possible Enoch is just a cool name that Filoni liked and nothing more, but considering how many other relevant mythological names he has chosen for this series, I think it probably has some significance. No matter what, there is still more to discuss surrounding Enoch just in the context of Star Wars, and it has to do with the character Rukh from Star Wars Rebels and the original Thrawn trilogy of books. I'm gonna get into plot details specifically from the final book, The Last Command, which is 30 years old at this point, but since Ahsoka, the other Mandoverse series, and maybe Filoni's movie could all be taking heavy inspiration from those books, I'm gonna give a spoiler warning here. If you'd rather not know what happened in Star Wars Legends because it might inform what also happens in canon, turn back now. In Legends, Grand Admiral Thrawn had an alien bodyguard named Rukh. He was a Nogri, and his planet was ecologically devastated in an accident during the Clone Wars. The Galactic Empire eventually offered their assistance fixing the catastrophe if the Nogri would fight for them, but the Imperials kept poisoning the planet to ensure the continued servitude of its people. By the time of Thrawn's return to the galaxy, Rukh was Thrawn's personal bodyguard, and several others served as assassins. After Leia Organa survived a failed assassination attempt, she created a diplomatic relationship with them and was able to prove their homeworld was still being actively poisoned by the Empire and Thrawn. The Grand Admiral was leading a very successful campaign against the New Republic, but at the Battle of Bilbringi, Rukh betrayed and killed Thrawn for the Empire's treachery. Jumping into canon history, Rukh was brought into Star Wars Rebels Season 4, once again serving as a Nogri assassin, hunter, warrior, and all-around servant for Grand Admiral Thrawn. He was a strong antagonist, capable of fighting off even Zeb, the strongest member of the Lothal rebel cell, but But during the Battle of Lothal, Zeb was able to trap Rukh among some activating power generators, which electrocuted and killed him. So Rukh is no more, but like I said, there are several story elements from Ahsoka and the rest of the Mandoverse shows that suggest we might be building up to a very similar story. Grand Admiral Thrawn returns to the known galaxy after being missing for several years. 5 years after the destruction of the second Death Star, he wages war against a new republic that is skeptical of his existence at first. All of that is true in both canon and legends so far. We're also seeing elements like Mount Tantus pop up in the Bad Batch, which was a significant location in the Thrawn trilogy where new clone stormtroopers were created. If we're preparing to hit several of the main story beats of the books, we're gonna need a replacement character for Rukh, and Enoch seems set up to fit that role. It's possible the Night Sisters could fill the role of the Noghri in all of this. We don't know the full extent of the agreement Thrawn made with them. So far it seems to just be the delivery of their mysterious cargo back to the known galaxy, but there could be some form of manipulation on his part. Maybe Enoch is Dathomiri or a Night Brother or something. He could take any betrayal to heart and turn on Thrawn when the time comes. But it's way too early to say that for sure. Enoch could have a wildly different story from Rukh. I'm seeing similar elements pop up because I've been familiar with those elements for 3 decades. I should also point out the many differences that have already popped up in Thrawn's story, like the Night Sisters, and I already see myself stretching to make them fit into the puzzle. It could work, but they couldn't be more different from the Noghri with their mysticism and use of dark side magic. Their presence already introduces several new directions Thrawn's story could go. They also mean Thrawn is learning more about the Force. Thrawn's creator, Timothy Zahn, has always been insistent that the Grand Admiral is always defeated by some unknown element, something he can't possibly anticipate. The Force was that element in Star Wars Rebels, where we saw him defeated by the Bindu on Atollon and then the Purrgil on Lothal. The fact that he has spent the last decade learning about at least one aspect of the Force is great, removing that blind spot from his tactics. If he has known Enoch all that time, and if Enoch is deeply connected with Night Sister magic, the more Thrawn knows about the captain of his guard, the less likely it is I think he could be a legitimate threat. Actually, I think it might be cool if he is a red herring element in this story. Filoni knows Star Wars fans. He knows people like me might already be wondering about Enoch, thinking he could be a potential replacement for Rukh. Maybe there will be a moment of betrayal from Enoch, but this time, Thrawn could be ready for it. That would be a nice nod to the original Star Wars Legends version of the story, but it would also keep me and other longtime Legends fans on our toes, because I don't want this to be a beat-for-beat adaptation of the same story. I would like to still be surprised. But I think that's all I've got to say about Enoch today, just a little summary of things to watch out for in the future. Maybe this stuff will come to pass, or maybe I'm way off. I don't know, but I can't wait to find out. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with all our Ahsoka coverage, follow us on our socials, and consider checking out our Patreon page for video reactions and audio commentaries for every episode. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.